Hereby I open this academic ceremony at Maastricht University. My name is Ton de Goey. I am the pro-rector and the chair of the degree committee. And first of all, I would like to welcome Mrs. Zhixiang Wang, and he will defend his thesis in public, and his thesis is entitled Artificial Intelligence Applications in Oncology to Augment Data and Support Decisions. Further, I welcome all members of the degree committee, and in particular the three supervisors, Professor André Dekker, he is Professor of Clinical Data Science, Dr. Alberto Traverso, he is Assistant Professor also of Clinical Data Science, and Dr. Leonard Wee, and he is also Assistant Professor of Clinical Data Science. I will introduce the 5 opponents later during the ceremony. And I would like to welcome you in the aula, and I would like to welcome all the followers of the live stream. Mr. Zhixiang Wang, may I invite you to present the summary of your thesis, and I wish you success in the coming hour. The floor is yours.
Thank you, college and friends for attending my defense. In the past 2 years, I focused on the artificial intelligence in medical field. Now, in the next 15 minutes, I will introduce my project, Artificial Intelligence Applications in Oncology to Augment Data and Support Decisions. Cancer is the second leading cause of death globally, a pressing issue that requires our attention. According to the statistics from the World Health Organization, cancer alone results in the death of 10 million people in the year 2020. These alarming figures underline the urgent need for the better ways to detect and treat cancer. Aimed at this challenge, artificial intelligence, or AI for short, as a cutting-edge technology, offers our hope. AI has extensive applications in medical field. We can utilize AI to analyze large amounts of patient data, predict disease risk, assist doctors in diagnosis, and even develop personalized treatment plans. Importantly, AI can provide 24 hours automatic service without errors and bias, significantly improving the efficiency and the quality of medical service. Machine learning is a core component of AI. You can think of it as a superfilter that shifts through massive amounts of data to extract valuable information. It learns patterns from historical data to discover associations between inputs and outputs, which enables it to make predictions or classifications on the new inputs. For instance, this picture displayed how a decision tree can help make decisions. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning that attempts to mimic the workings of human brain neurons, constructing vast neural networks to train models. Deep learning model can handle more complex tasks such as image and speech recognition. This is particularly valuable for applications in medical field. For example, we can train a deep learning model to recognize tumor in medical image, improving early cancer detection rates. The outline of my thesis chapter displayed in this figure. It includes AI for data augmentation and decisions. AI applications for data augmentation. In real life, we often face the issue of insufficient data or the imbalanced data distribution. In such cases, data augmentation becomes crucial. It's a technique capable of generating high quality of synthetic data. Data augmentation comes with some advantages, especially when compared to the traditional approach of building a large dataset. For one, it gives us the ability to generate a large number of realistic samples in a short time. These augmented samples are great for training AI models, as well as for educating our junior clinicians. By applying data augmentation, we are essentially providing them with a wider range of situations, which in turn leads to more robust model and better healthcare. When we talk about data augmentation in medical imaging, there are 2 preliminary methods we can use. The first is transformation. Transformation is all about changing the image we already have. We can roll them, resize them, or adjust their brightness. By doing this, we are teaching our models to recognize and interpret the same data under different conditions. The second method is generation. This is where we create entirely new images by combining or modifying the ones we already have. A popular technique to achieve this is through something called generative adversarial networks, or GANs for short. GAN model is a class of deep learning frameworks consisting of those two neural networks competing in a game-like setting. Imagine a game with two players, a thief, the generator, and a police officer, the discriminator. The thief's job is to make fake things that look just a real one. The police officer's job is to figure out which one is real or fake. Through this ongoing competition, GANs can produce high-quality synthetic data that closely resembles real-world data. GANs have applications in generating high-quality synthetic data harmonization, and image transfer. This picture shows the example transfer the Mona Lisa to other styles. Thanks to their ability to automatically learn the features from different modality images, deep learning has already been widely used in radiotherapy. It can be used to translate MRI to CT, automatically calculate dose and plan in real time, and improve the medical image quality. Even though the GANs model cannot replace the radiotherapist doctor's work, it still has great potential to enhance the radiologist's workflow. Next, we designed an experiment to prove that GANs can create realistic ground glass layers. We used the structure of GAN model shown in the left, and the generated image looks almost exactly like the real one. We compared the generated data with the real samples through the tuning test and found that the generated data is very similar to the real data, making it difficult to distinguish. Apart from creating realistic data augmentation can also help to improve the AI performance. We conducted an experiment where we trained an AI classification model using both real data and a combination of real and generated data. They then compared their performance. The results indicate that the model trained with the combined dataset achieved higher AUC. This demonstrates that adding generated data into the training process can indeed have a beneficial impact on AI training. The image on the right shows the example of generated pneumonitis. Our experiment showed that data augmentation has beneficial to train AI. Now let's look at how those AI tools are being used in different areas of medical field. Using AI in medical field has many advantages. AI can quickly process large amounts of data, which help doctors make faster and more accurate diagnoses. Besides, AI saves time and resources, which makes it a cost-effective tool for healthcare professionals. But building an AI-powered system for medical diagnosis is not an easy task. It needs different types of data to track different diseases. First, let's talk about using image information to make decisions. There is a tool called radiomics that uses advanced technology to extract useful data from medical image like CT, MRI, and PET. It analyzes features like texture, shape, and intensity to find patterns and markers that may not be visible for human eye. Next, we have found that a large regression model can predict whether a patient will develop radiation pneumonitis based on the radiomics feature extracted from CT scans and the radiation dose. Apart from image-based predictions, we also looked into AI's potential for diagnosis based on biomarkers. We built decision trees to predict patient survival using these markers, and we used the random forest model to predict histology stage and grade using clinical features and tumor markers. In both experiments, the actually was quite satisfactory. This goes to show that AI can extract valuable information from a variety of data sources, whether it's medical images or biomarkers, and perform specific tasks with high accuracy and precision. This can benefit more personalized diagnosis and treatment plans for patients. After diagnosis, we also proved that AI can automate certain diagnosis tasks and provide valuable insights to help clinicians make more informed decisions. We conducted an experiment that compared clinicians' performance with and without AI assistance. As you can see from this image, Clinicians with AI support demonstrate significant improvements in diagnosis accuracy. In conclusion, AI-driven data generation has significant potential in medical research. Deep learning with generated data enhances model training and performance. Process decision-making shows great potential to handle different modalities of data sources. AI is valuable aid for healthcare professionals, boosting diagnosis accuracy and improves patient care. After discussing the potential of AI in medical research, we cannot ignore a key issue involved in this process, namely data sharing and privacy protection. Therefore, we need a new learning method to solve this problem, which is federated learning. Federated learning is a method that addresses privacy and legal concerns surrounding clinical data sharing among multiple hospitals. Instead of transferring data, federated learning trains local models while keeping the data in its original location. This way, institutions and countries can cooperate effectively while preserving patient privacy and data security. Federated learning can enhance healthcare outcomes without putting patient privacy at risk. In the end, thanks for your attention, and now I will give my work back to the professor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your clear summary. The opposition will be opened by the chair of the thesis assessment committee, Professor Frank Verhagen. He is professor of radiation physics and imaging at Maastricht University. Professor Verhagen.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on your magnificent thesis. I think all this stuff was not possible until a few years ago, so it is a very ultra-modern and very timely topic that you have investigated in great detail, so congratulations for that, and also for your team, of course. I'm not really myself an expert in AI, so I'm going to ask a few more technically oriented questions, if you don't mind. And we start somewhere in chapter 2. So now you have artificial intelligence, and you're going to train that using other artificial intelligence with these GANs. Instead of manually augmenting a data set, you use another type of artificial intelligence. And what puzzles me in those little figures that you make is that you use, for example, noise as input to do that. Could you explain a little bit more how a GAN works and what that noise is doing there?
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you for your questions. The original GAN used the input as a noise as the input to generate a realistic image, but now till now the GANs has developed many years, so there are many methods. For example, the DC GAN used the deep convolutional GAN, and in the chapter 3 you can see that we use the in chapter 3 you can see from the figure. Let me check. Figure 1, we use the image, the CT line image as the input. So which kind of input, it depends your task, is not only noise.
No, there is not only noise, but there is definitely noise, and noise for me is a signal without any content. So what is the noise doing there then? Do you really need that noise, or?
Noise is needed in the input because the GANs in a word it extract different patterns and generate image volume distribution according to the inputs. So if the inputs is similar and do not change, the generated image cannot be changed too much. So the noise is needed.
Okay. But then when that GAN is finished, I assume you have to somehow validate that these results are, let's say, similar to when you would have done it manually. Huh?
Yeah.
So that's a step you take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Another technical detail, but that puzzled me a bit. I'm sure you can answer it really quickly. You were talking at some point in that same chapter about calculating differences between dose volume histograms, and that you would use the Hausdorff distance for that.
Yeah.
How would that work?
You mean in the chapter 2 or chapter?
Chapter 2, yes.
Chapter 2, okay.
It's page 32. Because I know how you use Hausdorff distance to measure distance between distributions, and dose distribution, 2D or 3D, but How do you do that for a dose volume histogram? That I don't know.
The dose distribution is a distribution of volume of the of a dose is also kind of medical image. So the distribution is also has the information inside their patterns, and the Hausdorff. You means the Hausdorff calculation method?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hausdorff calculation method is a calculation. Is a function that calculates the different the distance between the target and the generated volume. How to say that the distance between two groups, how similar these two groups are. So that's my answer.
Okay. Still in the same chapter, I read something about Monte Carlo methods. Now I realize this is not the focus of your thesis, but I'm quite curious. On page 58, it sounds like Monte Carlo simulations can be used as a kind of competitor to GANs. And you give us an example to turn one image modality into another. That's one example you give. And for me, that's a typical AI application. Bit black box, image in, image out, and somehow it works. But how would you do that with a Monte Carlo simulation? That's not very clear to me, because Monte Carlo simulations are based on physics, right? They are deterministic methods with random steps and so on, but I don't know, do you know how you would do that? Turn one image MRI into CT, for example, using a Monte Carlo simulation? A Monte Carlo simulation.
Monte Carlo simulation. Okay. As I know, we use when we want to train MRI to CT, we need to collect first step. We need to collect some data set for the training data set. It needs a paired data set. For example, we need to have one patient with MRI and CT image. Then use the MRI as the input to train the GAN model, and use the discriminator model to clarify whether the generated CT is real or fake, and use the real CT as the label and calculate in the loss function. Then after this training process, we can generate MRI to CT.
Okay. Still have a bit of time. Huh? Yeah. Okay, then we jump to chapter 4. So you're talking about this mask self-attention mechanism, and in my understanding, what you do is you mask out a part of the image and then you ignore everything else. Is that correct?
No, it's not really. Highly esteemed opponent, it's not really correct. Mask attention is one part of our training process. Because why we use that? Because the GAN model can directly generate the whole image, but the different areas has different distributions and different shape and context. And especially for the surrounding of lungs, it still needs to pay more attention. So that's why we design a mask attention to make model more focus on the surrounding of the lungs. That's why we add a mask attention model, and we add mask attention loss function into the generation, the whole generation loss function. That's why. And then after this, it can create more clear boundary for lung.
Okay, thank you. Then I would like to ask a question about figure 4 and 5 on page 108. So here I found those figures a bit difficult to interpret. For example, in the figure 4 you have a difference figure, and in figure 5 you have a difference and a heat map figure. Could you explain a little bit more in detail what I'm looking at here?
You means the figure 4?
Page 108. There is a figure 4 and a figure 5.
Okay.
And let's start with figure 4 on top. So you're comparing your model to some standard method, I guess, and then you show the difference, but also because there is no legend, I don't really see, does this work well, or what is the meaning of the difference there, for example?
Yeah, okay. Because the in the original in the figure 4, we generate the patient lung will get pneumonitis, and the original we transfer the patient lung into the lung will get pneumonitis. But it's really hard to recognize because this picture is too complex and it's really hard to recognize. So we calculate the difference between the generated and the original image to compare how different and create and transfer the volume difference into the heat map.
Mm-hmm.
The higher in the heat map is the more different in the image. This is the figure 4. And for the figure 5, it's also similar in this method, but we generate the COVID pneumonitis. So it's also show the difference, but especially you can see in the figure 5, the inside of lung is more complex than the original one. That's why we generate that's the reason we generate the pneumonitis in the whole lung. So you can see from here, if we do not using a heat map, it's really hard to recognize that how large the difference between the generated and the original image.
Okay. Then my final question is about table 1. It's a very short.
We
question.
have to move on to the
sorry.
next opponent.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe later.
Thank you very much, Professor Verhagen. The opposition will be continued by Professor Marius Staring. He is Professor of Machine Learning for Medical Imaging at Leiden University Medical Center. Professor Staring.
Dank u wel, meneer de rector. Dear candidate, it was a real pleasure to read your thesis. I must say you gave me quite a bit of work to do because it's a really thick thesis, and I want to congratulate you on the amount of work that you did. And with that, I would also like to include your supervisory team. So I would like to exchange thought with you, mostly on chapter 3. So in that chapter, you use GANs to generate ground glass nodules. So it's an image translation problem. And I want to start off with maybe a simple question for you. So on page 73, you describe that you take an original image and then you erase the nodule area. And could you explain to me what you do exactly there? What do you mean with erasing?
Yeah, esteemed opponents, and let me explain what I did in here, because I want to generate nodules into the lung, but we do not want to generate random nodules. We want to create the nodules in the location we want to have. So that's why we make a mask to make the GAN model to know where it should create a nodule. And according to the mask, the size, I can decide how large nodules I need and where the nodules I need. That's why I make a mask on here and use this kind of image as input to use and train a GAN model and generate the image and compare the real image do not have mask, and after this comparison, we calculate the MSE and the SSIM and the whole image loss function. After this process, we can calculate how real and whether the nodules create in our location.
Yeah. So that's clear then, thank you. So, but then in this masked area, do you then set all the pixel values to 0 basically?
0.
Yeah, so you have your masked area. What does that mean, masking? You set all the pixels there to 0 or to some kind
No,
of...
it's not 0. It is I make the average value is
by an average value. Yes.
Yeah,
so I should see this then as maybe an in-painting problem more.
Mm-hmm.
This is more an in-painting kind of algorithm?
It's more impacting, yes, that's true.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. So because you use this discriminator, does this also mean that you do not see the boundary anymore? Because I can imagine, so there's a part of the image that's real, then there's the masked area that's fake. There could be a transition going on there, right? If you're not careful. Was this something that you observed?
Yes, for the discriminator, I designed two discriminators to both evaluate the whole image, whether the whole image is real or fake, and the quality of the whole image. And because the mask is I designed, and I have the location of the mask, I can directly extract the location of mask area and compare. Use our ROI discriminator to only discriminate whether the generated naturals or region is real or fake, and
but then you focus the discriminator like on the center of the area, basically.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if the transition area is visible or not. Did you just look at the images and see if there was a transition going on?
Yeah, that's true.
There was a transition going on.
Yes.
Okay, so but that's suboptimal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would like it to be kind of a smooth transition.
Yeah.
Okay. So so you generate the examples, then you do a Turing test.
Turing
right?
test?
Yeah, you ask manual observers, human observers, to rate images as real or fake.
Yeah.
As a Turing test.
Yes, Turing test.
Indeed. And I was wondering, you've now worked with this test for some time. Can you share your thoughts on the appropriateness of this test with me? What are its strong points? What are its weak points?
Okay. It's true that we use the Turing test, but the result is not really good because the clinicians still can recognize 60% of naturals are fake. But I think this still have great potential because the reason first is that the clinicians we collect has high experiment, so they has high requirement to know what the naturals looks like.
Yeah,
and
so that's the result of the test. But I'm wondering about the test in itself. Do you think? I mean, why would you use such a test? What are its advantages? Maybe there's also disadvantages.
Yeah. Okay. Because we already evaluate the distribution of the image, and in the distribution of the cognitive analysis of the image is a normal method to evaluate the quality of image.
Yeah.
But the information hidden in the volume distribution of image, especially for medical, is really hard to recognize whether it's clinical meaning in the medical image if we only calculate the distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we need to invite the clinicians as a discriminator and evaluate the clinical meaning, whether this naturals is really real and with clinical meaning or do not.
Yeah, indeed, and I agree. It's very good to include the humans here in the evaluation process. But I'm just wondering. So suppose there's, your generation process was really good, but there's just this one feature that makes it really easy to distinguish it being real or fake. For example, I've worked myself on image reconstruction problems for MRI, and we were able to get really high SSIM values, but still there was some smoothing going on with respect to the really created images, and this smoothing feature basically gave it away. This basically told the human, okay, this is the fake one and it's not the real one. But does that matter? If there's just one single feature that gives it away. You understand my question?
So can you repeat your question?
So I'm wondering if this Turing test is not too strong a test, because maybe you can generate excellent images, but there's one feature that gives away that it's not actually a real image.
Yeah, that's true.
Does it matter? Is it important that this one feature gives it away, but for the other part, it's fine?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you are right. The Turing test is not the best method. We still need to combine our other evaluation method, and also Turing test is only one part of evaluation. There is no gold standard to evaluate how the generated image to evaluate. So the tuning test is only one part of method.
I think I agree with you, because I think it's good to look at the combination of evaluation measures. Because on the other hand, you could also say, well, let's suppose your method scores perfectly on the Turing test. So humans cannot distinguish between real and fake images. But there's also this field of adversarial attacks, which basically you try to impose an attack on an image, you make a change that's not visible by a human. So that would also maybe say that these Turing tests are only showing a part of the solution, because it can only fake the human. Do you think if it can fake the human, you're of sufficient quality for your end goal? So in this case, a classification.
I don't think only if can fake human is enough for the high quality, because you can see in the chapter 4, we also train a classification model to check whether the generated image can improve the classification model performance, because at least the goals of generate image and the generate dataset is not to fake people. It's meaningless. Because we want to improve the performance of deep learning or machine learning model, and maybe to train the junior clinicians. That's why we want to generate.
Indeed, it's the end goal that matters. Now, then you show some results and you evaluate. I think in figure 4, I think, of that chapter. You show the features which are similar and which are different between the generated and the real images. Because I was wondering, these are some technical features. I was wondering, did you look at the generated images yourself? And can you describe that in terms that are understandable by, let's say, a radiologist? What are the differences between these sets of images?
Yes, we are.
You may give a short answer, please.
Okay, thank you. We already checked the images and the features. The generated image is not complex as the real one, especially for the boundary and the shape. The generated image has a normal shape. It's a little bit not realistic as the real one. That's why the clinicians can't figure out whether it's real or fake.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm satisfied, and I return the word back to the rector.
Thank you, Professor Staring. The next opponent is Dr. Cecile Wolfs. She is Assistant Professor of Radiation Physics and Artificial Intelligence. Dr. Wolfs.
Dear candidate, first of all, congratulations on your thesis. I really enjoyed reading it. You did a lot of work, and also congratulations to the promotion team. I also have a question about chapter 3, actually, or it came up in chapter 3, but it also applies to chapter 4. It's a more general question because you use GANs to create more data for a minority class, right? You have imbalanced data, you have one class with less samples, and you use your GANs to generate more data in that class. And it kind of continues the discussion you had with Professor Staring as well. How do you know that the data you generate, that the classification model that you use later on doesn't just recognize it as fake, and that's why it knows that it needs to be in the minority class?
Esteemed opponent, thank you for your questions. To evaluation whether the generated image is real or fake, to be honest, there is no really method. Is no golden method to evaluate. So that's why there are mainly 3 different evaluation methods. The first one is quantitative evaluation, like we mentioned in the chapter 2 evaluation table, like MSE or SSIM. This kind of method to evaluate how different similar distribution between the generated and the real images. This is a kind of method can evaluate. It's objective method, but this, as we mentioned, it cannot describe the hidden information, especially the medical information. That's why we need to evaluate by humans as a visual tuning test. This is the second method. And on the last, as I mentioned before, the goal is to improve the performance. Then the third method is to train a classification model or machine learning model, or train a discrimination model to track whether the generated image is real or fake. And as I know, this is the only three main approach to evaluate the generated image quality.
Mm-hmm. And for that last one that you mentioned, to have a classification model that you see that it improves the performance. But we've also seen that in COVID-19 classification, for example, which you also have in your chapter, that if you use explainable AI techniques like saliency maps, that the model actually doesn't look at the lungs at all. So it looks at regions outside of the lungs because the data is from different hospitals and it actually recognizes from which hospital it is instead of whether it's COVID positive or negative. And I'm wondering if that's a problem that can occur with these fake images as well.
Yes, it's still has possible. That's why we need to. That's why I add some specific attention, and we also add some specific loss function to rule the model into the specific situations, because that's why otherwise it's meaningful if we generate a natural beside the lung or out of lung. It's meaningful in the background. Though the distribution and the distribution is quite similar, but it's meaningless. So, especially for example, we use the mask attention method. That's the one of the reason we do that.
And did you also look into explainable AI methods that can show you what the model is actually, which information model is actually taking into account?
Yeah, esteemed opponent, and thank you for your question. And the model AI experimentation is one of my most interesting direction I do, because there are two main reasons. You can look into the chapter 7. The first one is that if we do not have an explanation of how AI make decisions or how AI can generate and analyze the images, the clinicians cannot trust the result we give. It still needs more time to re-diagnose the patients. In the chapter 7, we have evaluated that it has 10 seconds more without than with AI assist, because they need to check it again, and because this is the reason one. And the reason two is that not in this series and in the other journals we already published, we figure out deep learning or machine learning is kind of algorithm that extracts large amounts of patterns from the historical data, and it can learn automatically the specific connection from the different patterns on the information or image features or clinical features. This will give us some insight that may not be visible for human eyes, and maybe we do not have that knowledge. And in that journal, we found that we plot the GradCam is a attention map, how the deep learning look forward in diagnosis patient whether patient get pneumonitis, and we found that the deep learning model do not only focus on the high dose area. They also pay some attention on the heart area, and this is quite interesting insight and can provide our diagnosis process and give our insights and provide some knowledge.
Then another question I had, because you mentioned in your propositions and in the discussion as well that both federated learning and few-shot learning are also alternatives for when your data is imbalanced. I was wondering, what is, in your opinion, the best way to go? Is it federated learning, few-shot learning, or the data augmentation that you did mostly, or are they complementary? Can you combine them?
Esteemed opponent, I think federated learning and the few-shot learning are both good method, and let me talk step by step. Few-shot learning is an algorithm that can solve the problem that we do not have enough data. If we only have dozens of patients, it's really hard to train machine learning or deep learning. So that's why we have to use federated learning. The data augmentation method, even though it can generate more data, but the GANs model still needs large amounts of data set. We already tested in chapter 3. It at least to generate ground glass nodules, at least 100 images is needed. So if we only have dozens of patients, how we can do that? We can only use few-shot learning. Let me give an example. If we only have 20 patients, 10 positive and 10 negative, 20 patients is totally not enough to train a machine learning. But there is one method called paired learning in the few-shot learning. We can combine two patients into a pair and train a classification model whether the patient in the same group. And after this approach, we can get 20 multi 20 is 400 patients to train this machine learning. So it's quite good. And this is few-shot learning. And federated learning can solve the other problem. Federated learning, the problem is not we do not have enough data. It's lots of hospitals have their own data, but we cannot get their own data. For example, I'm an Asian, and I want to I use a European model to diagnose my prediction. It's true have a bias, but for European hospital, it's really hard to collect thousands of Asian patients. How we can do that? How we can train a model can also diagnose both Asian and European people. That's why we use federated learning to combine and cooperation many hospitals and many countries to overcome the bias of race, age, region. There are many differences from the different hospitals, and I can explain that how the federated learning can train the model, because federated learning do not train.
Thank you. I think my time is up, so I need
okay.
to work back to the prorector. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wolfs. The opposition will be continued by Dr. Zhenwei Shi. He is not here, but he is online from China, and his expertise is radiomics at the Guangdong Academy of Medical Sciences in China. Dr. Zhenwei Shi.
Dear candidate, firstly, I would like to congratulate you and the promotion team. I'm so happy to read the thesis. So as we know, data plays a very important role in development of the medical AI-based tools. Large number of sample size and ample data diversity usually bring benefit for AI model development. So however, comparing with other domains, curated medical data is not always available for use in our domain. So using AI methods to generate synthetic data is a potential way to address this challenge. Dear candidate, could you please read the proposition 1?
The integration of synthetic medical data generated by AI significantly improves the performance of classification models for the diagnosis of specific diseases.
Okay, thank you. You claim that the integration of synthetic data can improve the performance of AI models. So my question is, how could you evaluate the effectiveness and the correctness of this generated synthetic data? In other words, do you think they need to be similar to real-world data or different from real-world data? If the answer is similar, what is the difference between your AI method and the general data augmentation method, like a flip, crop, or ending noise? If the answer is different, how can you guarantee the synthetic data will exist in the real world?
Esteemed opponent, thank you for your questions. Let me explain step by step. The first one is that use GAN model to generate synthetic data different with the traditional method, because the traditional method like rote, recess, and collapse is only change the condition of the image, and it cannot generate the image do not have in the training set. For example, let me give an example. If the training set only have the natural in the left lung, and we train a classification model, it will directly ignore the right side of naturals, because the training set do not have the right natural. But using the GAN's method, we can generate the naturals on the right side to training the model, and it can solve this. This is kind of data imbalanced distribution, so we can solve this kind of problem. And we also in the chapter 4 the COVID is also imbalanced data set, and we created the pneumonitis to solve this imbalanced data set. And whether the generated should be similar or different with the real data, my answer is both. It should be similar and should be different with the real world data. That's why let me talk about the similar, because the generated data at least need to be similar, and it to be real enough for the any task, because if you can't use the totally noise image for the training set, even though the classification model can improvement, it's meaningless. That's why we need to generate similar image to make a basic performance for the medical image. At least is real. It looks real. For the difference, if we directly copy the original image to 10 times or 20 times, or maybe wrote them, it is totally similar, and it's really high similar, but it's also meaningless, because we want to make more conditions. We want to make more sample. We want to explore the training sample size, sample space. For example, just I mentioned in the generate naturals on the right side, we create the sample space into the right side, and but we do not keep the too much different. We need to use some algorithm like mask attention to route the model into the real enough. If we create naturals in the lung, even though the other area, if the other area is real enough, but we create the natural into the heart, is meaningless. So that's why my answer is both similar and different.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Another question is about chapter 5. In your study, you have demonstrated that the model developed by radiomics and dosamics can predict radiation pneumonitis. So what do you think about its clinical application in real world? How to use it in clinical practice? And what do you think your method can be used to other kind of endpoints or transfer to other type of cancer?
Deemed opponent, thank you for your questions. And this is a kind of transfer method. Is also one of my interesting approach. Let me answer your question step by step. The first, my answer is it has potential to transfer the model to the other topic, to your project, to other cancers or endpoints, but it should be careful. The first step, you need to check whether the modality of inputs is similar. We cannot directly use a MRI image into a CT diagnosis model. The second, before you use that, you need to collect at least dozens of patients as an independent test set to track the performance, whether suitable for your hospital or your task. And the third one, you need to care about to evaluate remotely time. You need to care about before you development, and this is how to transfer the model into the other projects. And for your next questions, what is the biggest challenge of sorry, what is your second question?
Oh, my second question you have answered. I would like to ask if your method can be transferred to other type of cancers. You already gave me an answer. That is okay. My next question is about, could you please describe more details about DVH and dosimetry biology methods you mentioned in your thesis chapter 5? And do you think your method can replace the DVH, I mean the regional traditional method in clinical practice?
Development, the DVH is also a good method and a traditional method, but it still has their own limitation because the DVH only can describe the dose volume distribution. It will miss lots of information as we can see from the table 2, I guess. Let me check. We have evaluated the model built on dose omics and radial and DVH. Oh, it's 137. In table 2, we evaluated the dose omics model and the DVH model. The results from the classification model shows that the dose omics model can extract more information, and we can also see from the supplementary table 3. The dose omics method can extract more information like texture complexity and intensity or something else. There will be more information than the original method. We just described those DVH distribution. So that's why I think that dose omics is much better method.
Okay. Yeah. Another question is about deep learning.
Excuse me, we have to move on to the next opponent. Time is up. Thank you very much, Professor Shi. The next opponent and last opponent is Professor Ralf Peters. He is Professor of Mathematics of Knowledge Engineering at Maastricht University. Professor Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Prorector. Dear candidate, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your very nice thesis. A lot of work and effort went into that, that's clear. And also my congratulations to the supervisory team. I have a number of questions on chapter 7, and I understood it can become a bit technical, so that fits with my background. So let's see with the first question where we can take that. On page 205, you described the 3 models that you use in chapter 7. And machine learning methods, random forest is there, logistic regression, and the deep neural network. And I was interested in the deep neural network that you're using there. So you described that it has many hidden layers, but then you say it has 2 fully connected layers with certain activation functions, and you mentioned dropout layers and a last connection layer. So I was wondering how many layers are there? What makes it deep? How many nodes do they have? Because I was feeling I'm missing information if I wanted to reproduce it.
Yeah, highly esteemed opponent. In the chapter 7, we use the deeper besides the random forest and the loss regression, we use the deep neural networks. We build 4 layers of fully connection layer, and each layer has different neurons. The first layer has the same neurons with the input, and the outer line, the end of layer has the similar naturals with similar naturals with the output class is 3, and the middle is 64, 128, and 256.
Okay.
And because there are too many naturals, and with the training set only 100, it's not too much. So that's why I can this performance is not good for the traditional method.
Yeah. And how did you use that network? Did you because you were training and comparing with different prediction outcome measures, you could say, the histology, the grade, and what was the other one? The stage.
Mm-hmm.
Did you train one network to predict each of them at the same time from the same network, or did you train multiple networks with the same configuration?
Yeah. Thank you for your questions. We train 3 different models.
Okay.
Using the same feature, but train in the different endpoint. This is the first step of my this is the first step of this task.
Okay.
And the next step, I train I use a deep learning method to train a multitask model. Use the same height and directly predict 3 different endpoints.
Then I would like to move a few pages and then have a look at, well, it's basically the table, well, the graph that you have on page 209. And then there's figure 2, panel C. And in that panel, you can see how the prediction is for the stage. Yeah, that's in the middle there. And you refer to it on the next page, on page 210, where you also show the ROC curves. And now if you look at the ROC curves that connect to that, they're really flat. At least for the deep neural network, it's 50% score, yeah, which is something you can always get.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
But then again, the accuracy that you show there went up to 80%. So how do you explain that?
Yeah.
Do you have an explanation for why that could happen?
Highly esteemed opponent. That's why this is super bias in the model, because the training set is a bias training set. That's why we use the Augment method to solve the data imbalance problem.
Yeah, so
this is a super bias for the models. That's why we do not use the deep learning method. It needs large amounts. It has high requirement for the data data set and the data imbalance, balance.
So also the accuracy is in fact meaningless.
Yeah, it predicts almost predicting all in one labels.
Okay, I agree. Then I had another question, which is less technical. It's about the transferability of the models you are building in, especially the second part of your thesis. How robust are they if you want to transfer them to new situations? Because the way I look at it is that you're in a field which develops rapidly. There may be new modalities, new kinds of images. The images themselves may be made with new equipment. And what could that do to your models if you generate images? Because I was once in a project where students trained speaker recognition, and then if they changed the microphone, it wouldn't function anymore. It depended on the microphone that was connected, and replacing it with another one of the same brand made it no longer function. So could that happen here as well?
Highly esteemed opponent. Yeah, that could happen. Yeah, that could happen, and the transfer learning is also if we directly want to transfer our models to the new task, it's really high requirement. But we can transfer on a basic model if we have we can select a model already can convert the PET to cities, and maybe we can use this model to fine-tuning to other tasks. It will be decrease the requirement, and it will be much better to train a model from end to end from the original data.
Yeah, And can you, in the same spirit, can you maybe comment on how long you expect that you can use a model that you would train today? What is the life expectancy of the model?
Yeah, highly esteemed opponent. I think the answer is one day. I think it's enough if you work quick, if you can code quick. Because if we only train 2D models, it not have quite high requirement for the GPU and the speed. It's really fast. Maybe 2 hours is enough to train a model.
Mr. Zhixiang Wang, you have understood that the time for defending your thesis has passed. The committee will now withdraw to discuss the quality of your thesis and in particular the quality of your defense, and please await our return.
The PhD defense has now ended. The degree committee will debate the candidate's performance behind closed doors. This process usually takes about 10 minutes.
Long road to the south side. 7 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if there's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and that. On the line, I know you know that I can't read your mind. Years can't fly by now, don't waste all your time. Cause I'll go the extra mile. Long road to the south side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if there's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and that. On the dash, got my laces tied. Long road, I don't waste no time. Break rules because fate decides. With the team and we chase the light. I make a move, fall down, shake it off. I hate to lose, bad branch, break it off. No room for negativity, praise and love. Prepare for deep part cause we're taking off. The mileage, traveling so far from home. Gathering knowledge, other connections. I put the time in to get everything I ever hoped for. It's a challenge and we all in. It's a better future that we go for. And even though these nights seem long, I know that I am never on my own. Know you've won the battle once you've grown. South side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if there's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and that. Long road to the south side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if there's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and that. Years can't fly by now, don't waste all your time. Cause I'll go the extra mile.
Mr. Zhixiang Wang, the degree committee, here present and also online, has assessed the quality of your thesis and the quality of your defense. And in view of his positive verdict, and of course in taking into account your previous qualifications, the degree committee has decided to grant you the degree of doctor. Professor Dekker is authorized to confer upon you this academic distinction in accordance with Dutch university custom and law. I invite now your supervisor to take the floor. Professor Dekker.
Please all rise.
Do you promise to work in accordance with the principles of scientific integrity at all times, to be careful and honest, transparent, independent, and responsible?
Yes, I promise.
Then by the authority vested in us by law and in conformity with the decision of the committee here present, I hereby confer upon you, Zhixiang Wang, the degree of doctor, and grant you all rights attached by custom and law. As evidence of this, I now present you with the degree certificate signed by the rector, the secretary, and the other members of the committee, and affixed with the official seal of our university.
Dear Dr. Zhixiang, definitely what we realize as a supervisor is that time goes so fast that you are able to publish 13 papers and we're still not able to pronounce your name, but we're gonna definitely work on it. But I did a homework yesterday, so I searched on Google Translate how your name translates into Italian. If you put your name means I only want. So I remember the first time we met, you told me, I want to be a scientist, I want to collaborate with people, and I want to learn. And I think today you prove us that you reach all of these 3 steps. And you also prove us that willingness is not enough, that you need to work hard to reach your goals. And I think it was not easy because you started in COVID period, so you know, how is it possible to collaborate and meet new people if you started during COVID people where everyone is locked down in their room? So you really started alone and then you build a team with the other people. And I guess also our success depends on all the hard job you have been doing. And I remember that before I left for Italy, you gave me a cup, a tea mug, and there was a mountain on it. And you told me, well, I like mountains. Now, you didn't tell me why, but I'm going to try to explain you why we think you like mountains. And the reason is because when you go to the mountains, you start walking alone, right? And you usually also are in these nice cottages alone. Now, the cottages was at the beginning in the office when I walked down in the office where you were saying with your Chinese colleague, and it looked really like a mountain cottage. You were making rice, I remember. There was a rice maker in the office. And you also had bathrobe, which was wondering me if we had showers in the downstairs, so it was really a spa, like in the really high-level cottage. Now, besides joking, you know, also what you realize when you go to the mountains is that you have fun if you walk with other people. So you started collaborating with other people. You also have to follow, you know, the known paths, but you also show us that you have sometimes to walk outside the paths, you know, to discover what other people hasn't discovered to reach the climb. And this is what you show with your thesis. So I want to tell you one thing, you know, you work on machine learning, there is white box, black box, and there is also out of the box, and this is you. And I think you really think out of the box. The first time we talk about GANs, you came to me and you told me, I want to use GANs in medical imaging, and I asked you, what do you want to use GAN for? Do you show any literature? And you show me the paintings that you show in your thesis. And then I asked you, what if they don't work? And you told me, well, people sell paintings and they get a lot of money. So if something goes wrong, basically we will become rich. Now, I know that you're also working on ChatGPT now with the project that you decided to do when we were in Iceland on a Saturday evening. It was Saturday evening in Iceland, and I can't imagine it was early morning in China, and you told me, well, I'm just making a call and we will start the project. That shows you that you're very into, art working. And you also told me once that you didn't feel tired because it is a passion what you do. So keep your passion inside of it. So I'm wondering if we use the ChatGPT, we'll be able to make nice songs. So we're going to become also rich as a band. Please let me know how that goes. And of course, also what I see in you is that the true passion for technology, but also the honesty of understanding when technology doesn't work. And I remember you are so passionate with technology that you also like playing video games, and you work on radiomics, which says things are invisible to the eye. And once I opened the door of the meeting room and you were there with this virtual reality sensor, I don't know, you were punching someone, so I was wondering what your eyes were seeing. Maybe you were punching the reviewers, maybe it was just something the eyes couldn't see. So you are really true passion for technology. And the last word I want to say is that there's plenty of mountains to climb. You're going to start a new job. But what I'm going to ask you is that you now have a backpack with all the experience, but I'm going to ask you if we can be your companion to the climb you're going to get. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Esteemed Dr. Wang, dear Zhixiang, it's my great pleasure to congratulate you with your doctorate, and I do that also on behalf of Maastricht University and its Board of Deans. And I would like to share some impressions of the committee with you. We have seen a clear presentation with the summary of your thesis. And your thesis we considered as very good, and it was really on very difficult topics. And you covered also many topics, and you did, because of that also, you performed a lot of work. And you have also a very impressive list of well-published papers. And with your defense, I think that most of our questions you well answered by you, although there were some, of course, and we understand that language difficulties. But you have shown that you are very knowledgeable in your field of research. And we are very satisfied with your answers, with your defense, and with the discussion that we had with you. And I would like not only to congratulate you, but also your 3 supervisors, with result in the form of an excellent thesis, very well published papers, and a very good defense. Congratulations with that. And also, there are more people that I would like to include in my congratulations. Your parents, the other members of your family, but also a number of colleagues and friends, I think, of which part of them are here in the aula. And of course, I would like to include them also in my congratulations to you. And I wish you a very happy personal life and a good career. And I have no doubt that that will happen. I would like to thank the members of the committee for their input, for their critical reading of the manuscript, and also for the interesting questions and discussions. And I would like to thank in particular the external members of the committee. And I would like to invite Dr. Zhenwei Shi to congratulate the young doctor. The floor is yours.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
谢谢。Yeah. In Chinese or in English? I don't know Dutch.
That's fine, excellent. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. 非常感谢受到这次邀请，然后可以作为committee 来的参加你的答辩。就想非常感谢带来非常精彩的一个博士的一个答辩。 希望你在未来的工作中可以继续发光发热，在北京的新单位，我们以后还有很多合作的机会。That's all. Thank you. Congratulations again.
谢谢师兄，谢谢师兄，非常感谢，非常感谢。
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I close the ceremony, I would like to take, just after the ceremony, a picture with you here in the aula with Dr. Zhenwei Shi still on the screen, so that we have a picture of all committee members, and then we will take a second picture in the hall at the stairs. And I would like to invite you to go to the rafter, and there is the reception, so then we can congratulate Dr. Wang there. Hereby I close this academic ceremony.